Okay, here we are in the opening of William Faulkner's Barn Burning. Notice the title there is an activity, right? Um, barn burning. It's active. It's a thing happening. We start with a an rather odd description of the justice of the peace's court is in a store that smelled of cheese. Okay, and the boy. This is going to be our central perspective on the story. Um, Knows that what he does is he smelled cheese. Okay, and he sees all this stuff in this place. It sounds like a deli or some kind of a market. Um, and so his primary focus in this opening is really the smell, his senses, and what he's taking in that way. But along with the smell, uh, he feels just a bit of fear because mostly of the despair and the grief, the old fierce pull of blood. All right. So notice we start right away in this opening paragraph with this idea that there's somehow a blood tie that is creating a pull on this boy. Okay. So we and he sees in the place where the justice sat, and this was pretty common in small towns. You know, you might not have an actual building dedicated to the court, so wherever there was a justice of the peace, he could set up court wherever he could. So the boy notices a table where the justice sat, and his father and his father's enemy stood. And notice this interjection in here in parentheses that it's his father's enemy, so it's our enemy, he thought in that despair. Arn, mine and his'n both. He's my father, right? So we just read about the old fierce pull of blood, and now we see what that fierce pull of blood involves. It's this sense that he aligns himself with his father and his allegiances. Okay? All right. And so Mr. Harris is telling his claim, which is that there was a grievance that the boy's father had against this man, Mr. Harris. And then all of a sudden, a man came by and said, he said, he say to tell you wood and hay can burn, right? So, wood and hay can burn. And then that night, my barn burned. Okay? So, it sounds like the young black man was sent to deliver that threat, and then the threat was followed through. All right? And they don't have any place. They can't find that witness. And the justice says, don't you see that's not proof? Okay? It's just circumstantial evidence. It's not proof that this boy's father is the one who burned the barn. So we start right away with this, makeshift trial about barn burning. Okay? And now they try to get the boy up here. Get that boy up here. He's the one who knows. But the boy didn't know that the man meant him. The boy thought he meant his older brother. And then Harris said, not him, the little one, the boy. Okay? So the boy is now asked to get up there and try to be a witness. All right? That's quite a bit of pressure, a witness against his father. And he felt the weight of the grim turning faces as he walked up there. And so he didn't even, his father didn't even look at him. And the boy thought, he aims for me to lie, and I will have to do it. Right? He thought, again, we're returning to this frantic grief and despair, this poor feeling this boy must have. Now we're starting to put the pictures together that that this boy is aware that his father actually did the barn burning, and I'm going to have to lie to protect him. Okay, notice that the boy, Faulkner uses the italics to express the boy's internal thoughts here as our perspective, our limited narration. The boy states his name. He is named Colonel Sartoris Snopes. And that name is, of course, known in the country as someone who tells the truth. So the boy is named after an old war hero. He thinks to himself, "Enemy, enemy." Um, and then the judge asks, "Do you want me to question this boy?" And the boy feels like there's absolutely no sound in the courtroom, right? So he's really just focused on himself and what he's experiencing. Okay, he just hears his quiet and intent breathing. It was as if he had swung outward at the end of a grapevine over a ravine and at the top of a swing had been caught in a prolonged instance of mesmerized gravity, weightless in time. Notice that image there um, of how the boy felt, right? He felt like he was swinging on this vine out over a ravine in this dangerous, precarious position. And just out there, there's that moment in a pendulum when you swing, but then before you start swinging back the other way, when you feel like you're weightless and you're just paused in a moment there. Okay? All right. So they all realize that the judge and Harris, the plaintiff, realize, look, we can't ask the boy this. This is a lot of pressure to put on a kid. And so the justice of the peace says the case is closed. I can't find against you, Snopes, but I can give you advice. Leave this country and don't come back to it. And so they can't convict him, but they also don't want him around. And so Snopes says, I aim to leave. I don't figure to stay in a country among people. And he said something unprintable and vile, addressed to no one. Sounds like an awful character, this father, right? Says something awful, even when he's just been let off of a charge that he seems clearly guilty of, at least if we're to take the son's perspective. So they leave the deli or wherever this place is that the trial was being held. Okay, and as the boy's leaving, a voice hissed at him, "Barn burner," right? That's what he's known as now. But he couldn't see. He whirled, and there was a face in a red haze moonlight, the owner of it half again his size, and he leaping in the red haze toward the face. He felt no blow, felt no shock when his head struck the earth, scrambling up and leaping again, feeling no blow this time either, and tasting no blood, scrambling up to see the other boy in full flight, and himself already leaping into pursuit as his father's hand jerked him back. So someone assaulted this boy for something his father had done. And notice the way this is described through the subjective experience of the boy. It's really focused on what he feels, what he doesn't feel. We don't, we know he went down. We know his head hit the earth. But we only know like what he didn't feel, right? So was he hit? Was he just pushed? Did he bleed? We really don't get that information. There's a sort of mystery there, okay? And so that is the end of the trial scene. And now we're going to go to the wagon, and now we're going to get a few episodes with the family.